Presidential hopeful Catherine Connolly has told the Hard Shoulder here on Newstalk she would have to reflect carefully on any law referring the change of the triple lock to the Supreme Court. The government has been examining ways to change the arrangements under which members of the Defence Forces may be deployed outside the state. Catherine Connolly says she would consult with the Council of State in that instance.
That's speculative, and I know it could be very real. I accept that. But as President, you'll sit down and you'll see when it's referred and what's the best thing to do. If you refer it to the Supreme Court, then it can't be challenged after that. So one would have to carefully reflect on that with the help of the very able people who'd be on the Council of State.
Cabins and modular buildings and back gardens are far from beds and sheds, according to the Junior Housing Minister. A public consultation has opened on extending exemptions from planning rules to modular builds of up to 45 square metres. Minister John Cummins told Newstalk the structures are built to an A-rated standard.
When people think of these, I've heard them being described as beds and sheds and things like that. I think that's an insulting description to some of the top quality manufacturers here in Ireland that are providing top quality product.
And New York's mayor claims the suspect in a fatal shooting in Manhattan was trying to target the NFL's head office but took the wrong lift. 27-year-old Shane Tamura is accused of killing 4 people, including in the lobby of a skyscraper housing some business HQs. It's alleged he left a note blaming the NFL for a brain injury he suffered. And that's your news for now.
Newstalk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Soak up some Moroccan sun with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Agadir, Marrakesh or Rabat.
Mostly cloudy with patches of mist and fog about tonight. Light rain and drizzle in parts too. Light northwesterly breezes and lowest temperatures of 13 to 15 degrees. And now you're up to date on Newstalk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With UPMC Orthopaedic Care. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action.
This is Newstalk.
Good evening, you're welcome along to Tuesday night's Off the Ball. It's Owen here with you until 10 o'clock this evening. We've got Declan Bogue of the 42 coming up after 7:30 this evening. He's going to reflect on Donegal's season and what the implications of Sunday might be, what Jimmy Guinness can take away from Sunday, and how 2026 might lead to a better outcome for the Donegal footballers. After 8 o'clock, I'm delighted to say we'll have the great Thomas Hauser with us on the line. He is a brilliant writer, one of the greats in terms of boxing. He is Muhammad Ali's official biographer, and he's got a new book out which contains his articles from 2023 and 2024. So Jake Paul's role in boxing, Saudi Arabia's role in modern boxing, the performance-enhancing drugs question in the sport, and what's next for Katie Taylor are some of the subjects we're going to get stuck into with Thomas Hauser after 8 o'clock. And then after 9, Rachel O'Sullivan will join us to chat about Euro 2025, the final that England won against Spain on penalties on Sunday, and her post-tournament thoughts. Our number is 0879 180 180 if you want to get in touch with us this evening. Cameron Hill's Newsround is coming momentarily. Cameron, how are you doing?
Good evening, Owen. How are you?
Very well. So we're actually going to start this evening with matters to do with the British and Irish Lions. So some bad news for those hoping for Garry Ringrose to finally get his test moment.
Yeah, a huge blow for Garry Ringrose. He's been ruled out of the Lions' third test against Australia in Sydney on Saturday. The Leinster and Ireland Centre reported the feeling the effects of concussion last week in training and is following return to play protocols. Joe McCarthy and Mac Hansen back available for the series finale after missing the second test. Assistant coach Andrew Goodman has confirmed that the best team available will be selected for this weekend's test, and hooker Dan Sheehan told Sky Sports earlier that the squads are focused on wrapping up a 3-0 series win.
We have to get over the excitement of what has just gone on there. So, we've had a few meetings where we need to be open and honest that it wasn't good enough in the first half, and I think lads have done a good job at sort of owning up to that and making sure that we put plans in place to make that right now. To as Pollock said, 3-0, and I know he got a bit of heat of it, but it was obviously the goal of the whole tour is to make sure we did come away with a 3-0 win. So, I think lads have turned the page well, and I think we're all looking forward to another big game in Sydney, and you can already see the excitement around the city with the fans sort of rolling in, and obviously there's a big sort of Irish and British contingent out here already. So I think the lads are going to be up for it and excited for the weekend.
It's kind of a shame that the Lions won on Saturday. We got such a brilliant taste of it on Saturday morning for the first time in this tour. and I think it's been a tour that's been bashed quite a lot, as Matt Williams responded to on yesterday's show, and finally it had its moment. And you can just only imagine what this week would have been like in terms of the build-up to this test, had it actually mattered in terms of the outcome. So, yeah, Hugo Keenan, you've ruined it for everybody.
Yeah. Damn you. Damn it.
At least it has its moment, though. That's the thing about that. Like, at least the test series now has its match and its moment, and it will be remembered, I think, somewhat positively. Like, think back, the South Africa tour in 1997 is probably the tour that saves the Lions and all this, and the first of the professional era. What happened in the third test of that? Does anyone remember? Lions won. Guscott's. I bet you think Guscott's drop goal was in the third test. It was in the second. And likewise, I think of Rogers' kick into the air and the penalty. I think of that as a third test, and it was a second test.
Yeah, more nice.
The Lions won the third test easily, I believe.
Apparently so.
Again, nobody remembers them once, or it makes this weekend. A damn squib.
I was thinking as well yesterday how lucky the Lions have been over the last 20 years or so. Like, you talk about 97 being a massive tour, the tour that saved the Lions. They got fortunate that year because on the rota it was time to go to South Africa, who were world champions. Same kind of goes for 2021 now. I mean, 2021 was a very forgettable sort of series, but certainly 2017 in New Zealand, a little bit fortunate there that they were going there on the back of, the All Blacks being...
Australia were world champions as well. Yeah.
So this has been the exact opposite of that, where you're up against a team who are in their lowest ever ebb. And if it was 8 years ago, certainly you'd have a better version of Australia. Maybe in 4 years' time you'd have a better version as well. And that has been the thing. And look, as I say, Matt was on last night saying, this tone that you guys are taking about, we're never going to come back to you, that needs to stop. The questions need to be about how we help Australia be a little bit stronger in the future.
Yeah, Matt was so interesting on just the perception of the Lions, like off the pitch, during their 6 weeks over there, and how they've been treated by the Australian public, or how they've treated the Australian public, I think is probably how he would phrase it, in that they've seemed quite arrogant in the way they've comported themselves and said, you're not playing your best players in these provincial games, and other things like that. I also think, like you say, lucky. I think the Jack Morgan hit notwithstanding, the Lions got very lucky on a couple of calls, especially, like, I was watching it with my brother, who's still playing rugby, like, in college, and when you watch it with his perspective as a forward, just what you see at the scrum compared, he's like, look at Genge's elbows on the ground the whole time during that scrum, and the Lions get the penalty. Like, when you see those sorts of little marginal calls, you can see why there's a laundry list of grievances on the Wallabies front heading into this weekend. So whatever about the third test, I'd say they'll absolutely want to batter, especially if Henry Pollock starts. They'll want to shut him up.
We haven't talked about the call. Like, I think what you'll notice when you're watching is that the Lions captain, the Australia captain, is very kind of like worked up. And when he sees it on the big screen, he completely relaxes. He goes over and apologises to the referee for being so worked up, because it was so clearly a penalty. Now, absolutely the British and Irish commentators are suggesting it wasn't, and, I've seen referees say that it wasn't, and so on. So maybe it's not that clear cut, but I think from everything we've seen in rugby recently over the last couple of years, it looks a kind of a straightforward, non-yellow, non-dangerous, but a penalty nonetheless. And I thought that one of the things that the ref said, that I think regardless of what the law says and so on, so that we can get into the technicalities of whether it was a penalty or not, one of the things the ref said in his explanation was they arrived at the same time, and they did not arrive at the same time. The head was down on the ball when Morgan came in and made the head contact. Like, I think that's, I don't need to be an expert in the laws of rugby to know that what he said there was wrong. So I just think that I'm surprised that we've glossed over that as much as we have. Like, that try should not have been allowed, I think.
Well, I mean, it was, we didn't really gloss over it yesterday with Matt, to be fair.
I meant as a general discussions around the Lions. I didn't necessarily mean on the show.
Yeah, it does feel like the big talking point. And then, the Australian disgust really with that decision over the last couple of days. It definitely feels a significant angle in all of this. And also just the fact that it wasn't a hometown refereeing decision, which would have been so easy to give, especially with that decision potentially keeping the series tied at one game apiece. That's one of the most astonishing things for me. Really a brave refereeing moment to not go with Australia.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think
doesn't make it right.
No, no. It's tricky with PRD because He does have precedent even earlier this year where it was during a URC game, he brought the two captains in and said, listen, there are too many rules in this sport. And he doesn't have a great relationship with getting those like really, really decisive on a dime calls correct. So I think he's got a bit of baggage in that camp as well.
I read Nigel Owens saying there was nothing wrong with it. I listened to Ronald O'Gara saying there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And
and
that for me,
I think there's a bias there, though, isn't there? But they don't want there to be anything wrong with it.
Nothing to see here. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily sure there's a bias from Nigel. Well, I suppose there is. He's a Welshman, and it's a Welshman involved. Maybe there's. I don't really necessarily buy the kind of like pro-Lions bias, because maybe for your own countryman, that might be something that comes through in the Nigel Owens case.
On the tour.
The one Welshman involved,
I know. I wouldn't I don't get me wrong. I'd trust Nigel Owens in charge of a Wales match. Like, you know, I don't think there's a. I think there's a subconscious, like, if it was a close call. Now, look, again, laws are there, and so what I'm saying is, though, the way the referee explained it, that they arrived at the same time, I think is untrue.
Fair enough.
You know, if the rule allows Morgan to hit him on the head, look, it wasn't dangerous, and your man took a dive. So there's a part of me that's like happy enough to see him not get rewarded for that as well. You know, like it's not. I don't have it as black and white either.
Yeah, diving should in that manner should automatically rule out the penalty, no matter what you've done in the build-up. Just absolutely no penalty. Yeah. Like my general take on it yesterday was just that it seems to have divided people. And is that then something that you can say, well, it shouldn't change the decision on the field if it's divided people to that extent? Yeah, perhaps not. So.
Matt's take in general, though, and his anger, I thought was very interesting, because I have to say, like, I think reasonable conversation. We had a big long conversation on the Newsround one day about like not giving up on Australia. And that, like, you know, that the best chance for rugby is to help them come back around and, you know, at least be a top tier nation again, even if it never kind of takes the country by storm and so on. And I think, you know, we talked about that idea of what the Lions did about the players not going to other games. Like, Jerry was fuming about that when he came in here on Wednesday. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think the general media discussions have been very respectful towards Australia. Maybe it hasn't been that respectful to the chances that this team has, but the idea of saying that Australia as a rugby nation should be just forgotten about and thrown away and binned, and that rugby can afford to lose one of its top tier nations, and us to talk about it so glibly. I felt that people have been reacting to a narrative that doesn't exist and fighting against it constantly. So it's interesting that it's creeped through enough that Matt's hearing that and is fuming about it. And I think probably speaking for a rugby nation in that regard, you know, that's obviously the feeling over there. Whether it's actually based in reality or not is almost irrelevant.
I think maybe not in the media, but certainly in people I've had conversations with around the tour, there was a huge, like, proponent of people here going, God, I would have loved Australia to win at the weekend, just to set up the series decider. But there is just a tinge of God love them about it.
Yeah, no, there is.
Where
they are at the moment.
They need
this. Yeah.
And like 90,000 in the MCG with everyone kind of writing them off. It was giving Wales against Ireland in the Six Nations this year, of like a formerly great team on hard times, everyone kind of writing them off, and then they produced this incredible performance, incredible first half performance. Like 25-3 up is insane.
I see Joe Schmidt was saying that the magnitude of the hit was almost double what they determine as a high magnitude impact. This is Carlo Tizzano. So maybe the dive wasn't a dive. Maybe his body just moves like that after something that's double a high magnitude impact. So
sure.
He's been dealing with a sore neck for the last 48 hours, but he's back. He's resilient and he's looking forward to the weekend. So just to give Carlo Tizzano's side of the story there. Where do you want to go next, Cameron?
We'll go to Shelbourne manager Joey O'Brien, Owen, because he says his side will need to be switched on from the start in tomorrow night's Champions League qualifier against Karabakh. He was up before media in Azerbaijan today as they get ready for the second leg of their second round clash. The host head into that with a 3-0 lead, and O'Brien believes his players have already learned important lessons in their quest for league phase European football.
Regardless of what happens tomorrow night, there's a game next week, and it's going to be in warm conditions, you know, like when you have to travel to whoever we play. So I suppose travelling away and stuff like that, and getting used to the hotel and getting used to the pitch and seeing them, that's what part of this is, like, you know, the experience of the group. As you said last year, listen, I suppose the key thing last year to take away from was the start we had, and it's just, again, at any level, but especially at this level, like, you know, and that'll be the same tomorrow. Like, you cannot start off it a little bit or make them individual mistakes at the first part of the game, because you just won't get back into it, you know.
Yeah, they have it all to do tomorrow night, Shelburne. Terrible news from Cork City standpoint, which a lot of people would have suspected, Cameron.
Yeah, teenage midfielder Cathal O'Sullivan has suffered his second ACL injury in 3 years, the club confirmed today. The 18-year-old midfielder came off injured in Friday's 3-2 defeat at home to Sligo Rovers. He made 21 appearances for the Leesiders in the Premier Division this season, made his Republic of Ireland debut, under-21 debut last month against Croatia, but Cork have confirmed today that he will be out for a number of months. You will feel that's a season ender.
Yeah. Now some transfer news.
Sligo Rovers confirming the signing of Kieran Harkin from Derry City today. He signed a deal which will keep him at the showgrounds until the end of the season with an option of a 1-year extension. Rovers have already added the likes of Patrick McLean and Ryan O'Kane to their squad this summer as they bid to avoid relegation from the men's Premier Division.
Now, Shamrock Rovers on the women's side, Stephanie Zambra in the hot seat.
For the first time, they take on Waterford in the women's Premier Division this evening. The former Hoops player was put in interim charge following departure of Collie O'Neill last week. Zambra spoke to the club's in-house media and admits that the last 7 days have been a bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah, look, obviously I'm very happy to get the job, to get the role, and for the board to trust in me and put me forwards. But for me, obviously this week has been a bit crazy. I was obviously away at the Euros. I got a call from Collie on Tuesday night to tell me that he was resigning. Also Kieran going as well. Like, I've learned a lot from the two lads over the last 3 years through playing with them and then coaching over the last number of months. So that was difficult to hear. And then obviously my thought focus turned to, right, we have a game on Tuesday. If I'm going to take on the role, I got to get back home and give the girls some clarity. So that's what we've done. I got back on Thursday morning, met with the staff that were here. We got in and we trained with the group and we spoke to them and let them know what was happening and got them kind of focused on what was the task was ahead, and that's the game on Tuesday. So I'm very proud to be able to take on this role. As I said, for the board to trust in me and the staff that are here and the players to be behind me is really nice. But it wasn't the easiest transition, especially in the way it happened.
That's underway at 7:45 in Tala.
Lots of counties getting their work done on the managerial merry-go-round pretty early. Sligo.
Former All-Star Eamon O'Hara has been appointed joint manager of the Sligo senior footballers. The Tourlestrane native will serve in the role alongside Desi Sloyan, with the pair appointed on a 3-year term that was ratified last night. They succeed Tony McEntee, who stepped down earlier this year after 5 years in charge.
Obviously, Desi Sloyan is an absolute great of the game, but every time I hear his name, I just think Jimmy Sloyan.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I've made the exact same for a second, because I heard it described as a dream ticket before I saw who it was. And then I saw exactly the same, and I'm like, wait, what's going on here for a second? But dream ticket according to the Sligo people in the office. So
yeah,
good luck to them.
Definitely. We'll move on to the golf, Cameron.
Yeah, Leona Maguire will be among the morning starters in Thursday's opening round of the AIG Women's Open. So the Cavan golfer has been grouped with Korea's Amy Yang and Andrea Lee of the US for the first 2 rounds at Royal Port Call. She'll be underway just after 7:30 on Thursday. Lauren Walsh due out just after 22:07 on Thursday morning for her opening round, while Anna Foster will get her campaign underway in the afternoon, teeing off just after 3:10.
Now, the swimming, Daniel Whiffen not in great form.
He admits he was disappointed with his performance today, despite reaching the finals of the 800 metres freestyle at the World Aquatics Championships in Singapore. He clocked a time of 7 minutes, 46.36 seconds in his heat to progress as the 8th fastest qualifier. Whiffen is recovering from illness, having recently endured a bout of appendicitis, while in the men's 200 metre butterfly today, Jack Casson failed to advance after posting a time of 1 minute 57.08 seconds in his heat.
Right, a couple of other stories before we wrap up. Cycling and some tennis as well, Cameron.
Yeah, great news for Ireland's Lara Gillespie. She finished 3rd in today's 4th stage of the Tour de France Femmes, the first ever Irish cyclist to get a podium finish at the event. She was part of a bunched sprint finish into Poitiers today, finishing behind Lorena Vibas and yellow jersey holder Mariana Vos, while Mia Griffin came home 25th today, with Fiona Mangan crossing the line in 28th. And Venus Williams will continue her tennis comeback at the US Open next month after receiving a wildcard entry for the mixed doubles. The 45-year-old will team up with fellow American Riley Opelka. Williams returned to the tour last week after more than a year away from the sport. 14 of the 16 pairs were confirmed today.
The 3 Irish riders in the tour are doing a vlog for us on Off the Ball, so you'll be able to catch up with them every morning. It's been really, really good so far.
A vlog?
I don't. I was actually there debating it. Is vlog? Vlog's an awful sounding word.
Vlog. On the Instagram.
Is it not vlog? No.
Don't believe so.
Video log.
Have I been saying it wrong?
No, I'm sure you haven't. I'm sure I don't hear those words so much as read them. But I just thought it's an awful sounding word. Surely they're not going around saying the word vlog.
Awful sounding, but it's been a great vlog. I've seen them up on Off the Ball since over the past couple of days. It's amazing content, and to get that insight for somebody who's
Are
just
you
had a podium.
GIF or a GIF man?
GIF, because that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, it isn't actually. But I would say GIF as well, because you sound like an Aegis saying GIF, but apparently it is.
The inventor says it's GIF, right?
I thought the inventor said it's GIF.
Oh, well.
Jesus, you're listening, inventor.
087 918 180.
For some reason, I've forgotten that unbelievably important piece of information. He definitely said it's one or the other. We will confirm in
Just
due
trying
course.
to distract from my faux pas there.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron, thank you for that. Mick, you'll be back with us at around 9:30 this evening. We're going to wrap things up on a inter-county Gaelic football season with a few final talking points from 9:30. But we're going to deal with the Donegal question next. Declan Bogue will join us on the line to dissect what went wrong on Sunday and what happens next with this Donegal setup going into 2026. We'll take a break, and before that, it's time for the cash machine.
News Talk's Summer Cash Machine.
Now, after our biggest ever winner last Friday, the cash machine has been reloaded for this week, and the number you now need to know is €102,000 exactly. There are two ways you can enter. You can visit newstalk.com/cash machine, where you can enter online, or you can text play to 57557. That's 57557. You have to get your entry in by 3 p.m. on Friday, and then across the Go Loud network of stations, someone is going to get that call. If it's you that gets that call, you have to answer it within 5 rings. Give us the exact amount in euro and cent, and you will win the cash. So remember that amount one more time, €102,000. Over 18s only. Text costs €2.50 plus your standard message rate to play. You're playing across the Go Loud network of stations, and terms and conditions are on newstalk.com.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With UPMC Sports Surgery Clinic. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action.
This is News Talk.
News Talk Daily with me, Ciara Doherty, is the podcast